Calling to order the August 16th session of the Long Hill Township Committee meeting. That's at 7:34. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Debbie, get a roll call, please.
Committeeman Ringolo.
Here.
Committeeman Ray.
Present.
Mayor Schuler.
Here. Any liaison reports?
Let's see. HPAC met regarding the Cooper Tombstone project. They have bids. They have asked for bids for that work. These are the historical. It's going to be a historical presentation of the Cooper tombstones in Turtle Rock Park over by the Sterling train station. They expect the bids to come in, I believe, the end of this week. So we should be looking at those in September. And they would hope to have the work done in October sometime. Essentially, it's a walkway from the current sidewalk from the new sidewalk, and then the Cooper tombstones would be put in a semicircle with some plaque with historical information on it. Middle school principal started in July, a new middle school principal, and he has a feature article in the newsletter. So we can read about it. Michael, I believe it's Vicario is his name. The newsletter is complete and has gone to press and should be in homes in the beginning of September. And the redevelopment committee met with our redevelopers. They've done some engineering work. They are now finalizing the engineering so that we can go back to the DEP and discuss the project with them, because there will be some waivers required from the DEP and the environmental issues that are contained on the site. So the next step is to finalize some engineering, meet with the DEP, and then once the DEP gives us some guidance, we can then start to work on the redevelopment plan, which is essentially the site work, the development, the zoning, and all the details. We expect that to happen in the fall. That's it.
Thank you.
I just give one quick update. The Morris County Sheriff's Office, well, the Hope One van, mobile van, visited Long Hill Township on Monday. It's a partnership with the Morris County Sheriff's Office and several other organisations, all working against the opiate epidemic. And myself, Chief Mazio and Lieutenant Naga both received Narcan training, and they distributed Narcan kits to us, so they were doing some great work. And they were in the ShopRite parking lot for part of the day on Monday.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda, I believe we are pulling, let me find the number. Actually, there's two questions. We're pulling 17235,
Yeah, that's right.
the opioid task force.
Okay.
I think that was a bit premature. I don't think we've completed our discussions
Yep.
with Chatham yet. So,
That's right.
Wait,
we're,
what are we pulling?
we're pulling 17-235.
Okay.
Also, I believe there is a question about the Verizon
Page 8.
Resolution 17-234. There's a question as to whether or not we would like to put a minimum
Bidding.
bid amount
I
into this.
don't think
resolution.
it's really necessary, because we're reserving the right to reject all bids, and I'm not sure we know what the lease is even worth, but it's up to you. I just thought I'd bring it to your attention in case you wanted to.
I'm okay with not.
As long as we have the right to reject all
Yeah.
bids, I
Yeah.
don't have a problem with it.
That was my
Okay.
feeling, I just didn't want to make that decision,
Okay,
so.
so then-
We'll just pull that out, Deb. That highlighted section will,
So number
just be
5,
deleted.
number 5 in the resolution gets stricken out.
Yes.
Okay. And that was the only issues that I was aware of. Anyone else have anything to discuss? Questions?
Just one typo on 17-239, which is the last one in the consent agenda. License number S-12-21 for, it should say Boy Scout Troop 56, not Cub Scout. Debbie, thank you for getting that in there.
Oh,
Okay.
So I'll make a motion for Resolution 17-222 through 17-239, with the exception of 17-235 and the amendments to 17-234 and 17-239 as stated.
Second.
Committeeman Marangolo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schuler?
Yes. Ordinances, second reading for adoption, ordinance 401-17, 2017 salary and wage ordinance. This time I will open the meeting to the public for comments on this particular ordinance. Sorry. Seeing none, closing the this ordinance to the public, and any questions from
No.
the committee? Okay.
No.
I'll move ordinance 401-17 as stated in the agenda.
Second.
Committeeman Marangolo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schuler?
Yes.
So now we have the resolution. It's on the, should be on your thing. That's the salary resolution that goes with.
So there's a salary resolution
Yes,
for this?
the ordinance broadens the categories. The salary resolution is the specific for that year.
Gotcha. Okay. So Resolution 17-241, which sets the actual salary for good staff.
We just need a motion.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Any questions?
Second.
Committeeman Marangolo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Schuler?
Yes.
I was waiting for you to read it all.
No. It's out there, right? I can say it's out there?
The
Or it's on the-
resolution? Yeah, it's in the back.
There you go, perfect. Okay, first discussion item. Greg, you're here? Sure. Come on up. I will need to recuse
Yes.
myself, so you two gentlemen can have at it.
No, there will not be a quorum.
There is not enough for a quorum, so
No action can be taken.
Right.
That's okay. Mayor, since there's not going to be any really decisions made today or any vote, I would recommend that you just listen in because it's basically like a public hearing.
No.
No.
How about I wait then until the public hearing process?
This is.
Same thing.
this
He'll
is the
he'll have to
same
step
thing.
out for that as well.
Same issue. If it comes up, I have to, statutes require me to get out.
One or two.
You guys know why I'm here?
Hang on a second, Greg. So we can all hear you.
Thank you. I'm pretty loud.
It's the folks at home that can't hear you.
Bottom reaches of Millington can't hear you, no matter how.
My fans?
It's the viewing public.
Okay. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Greg Carr. I'm the, one of the founders of the Uncommon Thread, which is the Autism Center right around the corner. And I'm really here at this particular point to speak about the process that I've been through. I've been in the town and the building now for the last 10 years. And there's a specific instance that's happening today which is really disturbing, and I think it should be brought to the attention of the committee. So if you look at what's happening, everybody familiar with what the intent of a performance bond is? Just asking? Okay.
We are, We are, but go ahead and explain it, because there's other people watching that probably
Yeah,
don't.
From a layman's process, right, the town requires a bond for construction, right? Typically, you don't want to be left short in the middle of a project where all of a sudden you have half a building or half a street done. So there's certain, what they call performance bonds that are required in order to do that. However, and I have copies here of the actual guarantees and requirements. I'm going to give you guys a copy. It would seem that there are obviously instances where it doesn't necessarily require a performance bond. So, and I'm going to go into a little bit of the history of how I kind of got here also. But if you look at it, it does, in very clear print, it says may require. And does anybody know what my project even entails from the committee?
I believe it was a renovation of your current building.
The second project was a renovation of the current building. The original one, we were going to add 400 square feet, and we were going to add about 1,500 square feet to the parking lot, right? Timing, right, because it took me a long time to get my approvals, right? I have kids that had to stay over at the Catholic school for a certain period of time. I had to move those kids back in September 1st. So on September 1st, we made the decision. Before September 1st, we made the decision. The cost for that small amount of the addition, the small amount of parking lot, was not, we couldn't afford it. So we decided not to do it, as well as the timing was going to be bad, because by the time we actually got approvals, right, we only had really 3 months to do our construction. So what we did is we said, we're going to move our kids back in, and we're not going to continue with the construction. We're just going to renovate the existing building. At that juncture, the town came to me and asked me, well, you guys are going to have to give a performance bond of $145,000. Meanwhile, right, we have not expanded our parking lot. We did not do anything to the building. We renovated the existing building. That was it. We decided subsequently to add a playground, right, to that particular property. In your requirements, it says specifically, right, that it may be required. And for the particular instance here, if we were actually adding something to the building, I could understand why a performance bond would be required, right? But in this particular case, there's no requirement, and it did not have to be given.
May I just clarify one thing? You're reading from the municipal land use law. The township ordinance actually says shall.
Okay, this is what you guys gave me? This is the ordinance that you guys gave me to read? This is what I read.
I don't know who gave it to you, but it's state. This is the state law that authorizes the local ordinance.
Okay.
And the state law says that the town may, by ordinance, require posting of a performance guarantee.
May.
So the local ordinance, the Long Hill Township ordinance, and every ordinance I've ever seen says shall be.
Okay, so what would the cost of that be, right, for something that you're renovating an existing building?
That's up to the town engineer, based on the cost of the improvements.
Yeah, but it specifically says, even in the main ordinance, right, that it's for items such as water mains, storm sewers, sanitary sewers, sediment control devices. Do you guys follow the state ordinance at all?
Of course.
Okay, then why wasn't this followed?
Those are examples.
Exactly. Obviously, they give examples for a reason.
But if you read the end, even what you're reading from the municipal land use law, it says, and in the case of site plans only, which yours is,
Yeah.
other on-site improvements and landscaping.
So you believe, I'm sorry, your name is John Pigeon?
Yes.
John, you believe that a performance bond was required for what we did?
I don't know all the facts, but
Well, obviously, you're reading from the ordinance that states the facts. So
Well,
according to your facts, is that what you believe?
I believe that some performance guarantee would have been required. I can't tell you the amount. That would be worked out between your engineer and the board engineer.
Yeah.
And it would be based on percentage of the improvements.
And that leads me to the problem.
Now the town has an unusual provision in its ordinance. Even though under the municipal land use law, the town can require 120% of the cost of all the on-site improvements, 10% of which may be in cash. The township ordinance says that it waives the surety bond portion of it. So really, all you're doing is required to give the 10% cash performance guarantee in the case of site plan. And I'm not arguing with your position.
But
I'm just trying to clarify the
I
requirements.
literally had 9 days' notice before I had to move those kids back into that building.
Well,
Not 9 days.
I can't answer all
I went to the
that.
bank to get an surety bond, would not give me one. I had to provide cash that I funded from my family, as well as it was funded from 2 board members, which I was able to give a portion of that back. Right now, my family is at $45,000 because of a process that didn't have to happen. I've been through this. I've talked to people. The situation right now with the town is a lot bigger than this particular issue. I'm here for one reason right now. I know I'm gonna be getting my bond back, right? I'm here because of the past history of what's happened to me and my organization personally, what I've been hearing been happening to the rest of the applicants in the area, as well as what's been going on with the employees here in the town.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I just wanted to point out that the ordinance says shall, that's all. That was my
Which
only
is fine,
point.
right? But the process could have been avoided, right, is my point. So if you go back to the history of us, we moved into this building in 2007. At the time, we were zoned for B2 zone, which included medical, included school, included daycare. We qualified for all of those. The town planning lawyer and the town planner made a decision to make it a special ordinance for us as an autism organization. $40,000 later, right, 9 months of that building being vacant, right, me carrying the cost, right, we finally moved into the building. Everybody in the planning board patted themselves on the back and said, what a great job we did. I almost threw up. That was one instance. What also happened during that time, they forced me to put garbage in my garage. If you can imagine, we have kids there, stinky diapers. That garage smelled for 5 years. And the planner was wrong in what he put on there. He said I only could have 15 spaces. I had to make a space in the garage, and I had to get rid of my dumpster. Finding out during this application process, he was wrong. So was the lawyer. So basically, we had a hardship for the last 5 years, right? Because of something that the town planner and the town lawyer decided to do, which is something that didn't need to be done at all. We could have fit under a B2 zone without any issue whatsoever. I came to the town in 2015, I said to him, I'm not gonna go through this again. Your town planner, Kevin, swore up and down, we're a business-friendly town. We've changed a lot since then, Greg, quote unquote. 7 months later, another $25,000, I got approved, yay, for a 600-foot addition and 1,500-foot addition to my driveway. Minor process. Couldn't afford it. We made the plans to change. We decided just to renovate the building. I'm a year and a month later, and my application still is not through. You've held on to my performance bond for 9 months out of that year, and $45,000 still to this day. Tell me where the rights are of the town and of the individual and of the applicants in this process. You have 2 guys that are running this process right now, and they're running people out of town. You're losing good people, good employees because of it. Things have to change. It's not about this particular issue as a whole. I guarantee it. If this is happening to me, it's happening to other applicants within this town. And FYI, we were gonna move into the church, but if I had to go through another rezoning of the St. Francis Church in order to have our kids there, and take another 9 months and cost me another $40,000, guess what? We moved to Basking Ridge. We now have a sub-satellite office in Basking Ridge. It doesn't get any worse, guys. Right, the process is screwed up, and somebody has to do something about it. So, Bruce, you're familiar with some of the instances in the past. The mayor needs to hear this, right? Basically, I've spoken my piece. Things have to change. It's the bottom line. And I'm hoping you guys are taking action. And I'll ask you the question, is there action being taken?
Well, action on what?
Are they looking to fix the broken application process, specifically the people that are in charge, the contractors that are working for the town, that are probably either running up their rates, right, or incompetent in their job, okay, or I'm not sure what, or just enjoy teasing applicants like myself. There's something going on. I got 4 emails from Kevin to change the date of my application, pressuring me, CCing everybody on the board. For what reason? My application started last year. Why would I change my application date to a current date, right, for no reason? Because it made it easy for somebody? You made it difficult for me since last September. Why should I change for anybody? The process is broken. I can go through detail of the emails that I was getting from these people, right, trying to intimidate me, right? I got copies, right, to change my dates. Why? I have no idea. This is deeper than you guys think, right? Something's gonna have to change. Somebody needs to manage people, is the bottom line. And if people aren't doing their jobs, they gotta go. That's the way it is. Any questions for me?
No, one of the things I'd like to do, I'm on the planning board, and I remember whenever you came in for the original application, and you know we should talk after this meetings, and you know we'll look into this process after you and I discuss what's happened. I'd certainly like to talk to you about your experience with the planning board. You know, it's something that you know, obviously as a township committee, we don't want to hear this kind of things happening, and it's the whole process has been something that's you know we've actually been looking at over the past year or so, and so we should you and I should definitely talk.
Absolutely. You gotta be done looking.
Okay. I just had a fact question. What was the total cost of your improvements? I'm just trying to ascertain whether you overpaid your performance bond.
For what part? To renovate the interior of the building?
No, the outside improvements.
Nothing.
Under the original,
We repaved the parking lot. That was it.
so the $45,000 that you've posted was based on what?
No, $145,000 was based on the plan that we submitted that we decided we can't afford.
And was that 120% of the total improvements?
Yes.
See, because it's, under the ordinance, in the case of a site plan, which you are, you only should have been required if the total bond, and I'm speaking hypothetically here, because I don't have everything in front of me, but if 120% of the cost of all your site improvements was $145,000, 10% of that would ordinarily have to be in cash. So you'd have to post $14,500 in cash. Is that what you did? Or did you post $145,000 originally?
Because we couldn't get a bank for the surety
Right.
in time, we had to post the full $145,000 in cash.
See, because I think that was incorrect.
Trust me, if I could tell you how many things I think are incorrect, that's just another thing.
Because as I said, the town has an unusual provision that says, I just lost it, hang on one sec. In the case of site plans, which include only on-site improvements, you didn't have any road widening or sidewalk, public sidewalk or anything.
Nothing.
So that, in that case, the town would only accept the $10,000 cash. So you only should have been required under the ordinance, as I understand the facts, to post $14,500 total at the beginning, not $145,000.
And the pressure for me to have those kids back into that building was so great, I had no chances at all to do any research on it all. I had to fork over
I'm not criticizing you.
$145,000 so I could move in.
I'm not criticizing you, I'm just saying
No, trust me, I understand.
that under the ordinance, you only should have been required to post $14,500 based on what you've told me.
So at this point, what should he do?
I think at this point in time, that even if the engineer says to retain 30%, that it should be 30% of $14,500.
Okay, so how?
Listen, in 2 weeks, I'm getting it all back anyway.
Right, but
So, unless, of course, that meeting screws up, which it better not. So
So you're not worried about it?
yeah, I mean, in 2 weeks, trust me, I needed the money when Horizon, the insurance company, didn't pay us for a month and a half. I needed that money back. I had to fund it myself again.
so you still have $14,500 posted now.
I have $40,000
Still posted.
right now. Still posted.
Let me talk.
$45,000.
Let me talk to the engineer tomorrow, because it seems to me that if that's the case, it wouldn't even require township committee action to return everything but $14,500.
But in 2 weeks, he gets the rest.
Well, as he said, assuming
Right.
things move forward in 2 weeks.
Okay.
But I'll talk to Paul Ferrara tomorrow.
First of all, thanks for coming tonight. We certainly don't want to hear stories like this, but I think the sentiment of this committee is that we know things are broken, we want to fix them, and we're trying, right?
It's simple.
So,
That's the
so,
problem.
so
That's
thank.
the problem I have. It's
so-
simple.
So thank you for coming and bringing these to light, because this adds a little bit more fact to the efforts of the people trying to make the change.
And just to add to that, you know, we have to make time to talk. I'm around this week. I know whether you are. We'll sit down, and I'd like to just, you know, see the sequence of events here and see some of these emails that have passed back and forth between you and the professionals.
I eventually started CCing all of you on it, so I'm sure you've gotten a couple. Maybe not.
This one I haven't. I don't recall seeing
Okay.
seeing a lot of things coming from you, but.
Yeah,
But
no,
let's sit down and, because, you know, this really, from what you've told us, we need to investigate this more and see, you know, what the facts were here.
The worst part about it, I got the best looking building in town. Literally. It is a gorgeous building, right? You guys should be proud to have us in town right now. You just should be. We do great work. We work with kids.
Yep.
We got a beautiful building, and the amount of time I put into this only takes me away from our cause. That's it. And when the money goes away, it takes away from our cause. Right? We're a nonprofit. You know, we work off of whatever we bring in. If money goes out like this, every dime counts. It takes away from the children we're working with. Anything else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
See, the rationale for that ordinance was the town's not getting any improvements, so we're just trying to make sure that if we abandon it, because of the drainage problems or whatever.
Can I ask a question?
Hang on a second.
All right.
Next
This one's
discussion,
Huh?
next discussion item.
Parking permit fees.
Hang on one second.
How many years have we gone without an increase? 2?
We didn't increase in 16. I don't think we increased in 15. 15, we went for $5 increase from 220.
So in 15
And we
increased.
increased in 2012 and 2013,
And then again in 15.
and in 15, and not in 16,
Not in
and not in
16.
17, so this would be for 18.
Right.
And we don't know what's in the parking reserve fund?
I do not know what's in the parking reserve.
Must we do this tonight? I'd like to know what that is and before we,
Nope, I can put it.
so I would suggest we
Yeah,
hold off on this discussion.
I mean,
until we
I'm
know
okay
more.
with that. I mean, we just paved Gillette, and we just paved,
Well, I know Sterling is on target for 18 to be repaved.
right, but we already approved that, and that money's already been allocated.
Right, so again, what's the
Right.
reserve look like?
I mean, I don't think there's any expenses due up, but that said, I
Right.
mean, this is, you know, we're talking about building a fund over the 5 or 10-year time frame for the road, so, but yeah, let's get that information
So
and
you
then,
want to know the balance of the parking lot?
parking, yeah.
Yeah, the balance and if there's any earmarks to that fund.
Okay.
And old business?
Just one, the architects that we brought through for feasibility on moving the police department have bowed out. They felt that the project wasn't sufficient in scale for them, so I'm looking for new architects to, who could possibly take a look at it.
Brendan? Okay. New business? No new business. Okay, announcements. Blood drive, August 24th, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. at Bernard's Township Community Center. Please, if you have time, go donate blood. Also, we received today a notice from the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife concerning black bears in New Jersey. It is that time of year where the black bears tend to start foraging for food a lot more as they prepare for the winter. So there is a pamphlet on the website, and we will put information on Long Hill TV. Please go get the details from there, because I don't want to read
Right. Don't walk out with that.
8 or 9 pages. I will tell you, if you see one, stay away.
Two weeks ago, 2 of them ravaging the garbage cans in the middle of the day out on my street.
Black bears are generally afraid of people, but you can get, the unusual ones, so don't think that they're a pet. And with that, I will open the...
I'm sorry, if I could just do one shameless plug for the Millington Firehouse.
Sure.
We're the Millington Volunteer Fire Company is having its 3rd annual food truck festival. This is going to be in September 9th. The doors open at 11 o'clock. It's been the past 2 years. It's been a very popular event. We have a number of trucks coming from all over the state. We have craft beer on tap, and we have a number of local bands who play throughout the day and the evening, and so it's a good event to bring everybody together after Labor Day, when everybody's back to kind of catch up. So that's it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And that's September 9th, 12 to 11:30 p.m.
Yeah.
So late night partying. And with that, I will open the meeting to the public for comments and remarks on any matter.
Gary Janakis, Sterling. It was unfortunate to hear the experience that the business owner was having, and I know that our township likes to say that, we're business friendly. So I had a question, a clarification rather, to try to understand when there's a $145,000 bond required, why is there only a 10% to be collected? What's the purpose of that? Why is it only 10% collected?
The rationale was that in the case of site plans only, that the whole purpose of the performance bond was to protect the township if the project were abandoned, so that there weren't drainage problems or, unsightly condition. Whereas in the case of a subdivision, where the improvements are being dedicated to the township, roads, sewers, things like that, the entire 120% is taken. But the township committee many years ago, 15, 20 years ago, decided in the case of site plans that having 10% would be adequate to protect the township.
And is that 10% only, site plans only specific to businesses that are doing something?
Well, a site plan would only apply to commercial
Okay, so
uses.
then that is a friendly kind of thing.
That was the intent.
Instead of requiring 100%.
And as I say, there's no way the township would incur costs of 120% of all, the cost of all the on-site improvements in the case of a site plan. In a subdivision, yes. So, yeah, it was meant to be business-friendly when it was adopted.
Okay, that's all. Thanks.
Hi, Roseanne Caleri, 1782 Valley Road, Millington.
Can you spell your last name for me?
Calluori. I was on the phone last Sunday with the senior of our town, and she said, could you hold on? My doorbell rang. So she got back to me and I said, who is it? She goes, a girl from Verizon. She goes, isn't today Sunday? I said, yeah. Verizon rang her doorbell at 7:45 p.m. on a Sunday night. So I said, let me find out what's going on. So I drove down the street. I caught the girl walking across Northfield to Millington School. I said, hi. I pulled up with the car. How are you? What you doing? And she went like, I got a clipboard. I'm with, and she points to her T-shirt, Verizon. I said, well, I got phone calls about you. What are you doing? She goes, well, we sell, she goes, I got a clipboard. She goes, we sell services to people that don't have Verizon anymore. We're trying to upsell them. I said, well, you shouldn't be doing that. Do you have a permit? She goes, yes, I do. I said, can I see your permit? She goes, I don't have a copy. I said, okay, do you have a business card? She goes, yes, I do. Can I have your business card? I don't have it on me. I got a clipboard. And she smiles at me. I said, well, that's really nice. So the next night, Monday night, I'm having dinner with a senior at my house. My doorbell rings at 7 p.m. Same girl, and now she's with the guy. He had an ID badge on him, at least. But I said, do you have a permit? He goes, yeah. I said, do you have a copy? He says, no. And the night before, I called the police, and they said, no, we don't have Verizon having a permit to go door to door. So that Sunday night, they didn't have a permit. The next night, I didn't bother calling the police, but I told the girl that police are on the lookout for you. So, do we have any ordinance in town that says nobody can come soliciting us at night?
We have an ordinance, but it permits soliciting between the hours of 9 a.m. and 9 p.m., but it does require display of the permit at all times.
They didn't have them.
So just by doing that, they were in violation of the ordinance.
And I called Guy, and Guy was going to research it, and I haven't heard back from Guy yet. I wish he was here tonight. He was supposed to get back to me because I was going to tell the seniors at our club meeting today of this is what's going on. Because they're scaring the living daylights out of our seniors. Some of them are widowed, and they don't need their doorbells being rang at 8 p.m. at night. So I'd ask that we look into this and maybe revise the ordinance. 9 p.m. at night is pretty darn late. Mm-hmm. We should make it 5 o'clock. Because 6 o'clock, people are having dinner with their families, hopefully still, not many. Kids usually are texting. But we should do something about that. And I ask that you reconsider it and have the police enforce the permit. These people are walking around without permits. We still don't even know if Verizon was okay to walk. I know on Sunday night, they did not have a permit. I called our police.
Is it say Monday to Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
No,
it just says 9 to 9?
9 to 9.
Yeah.
But as I say, it does require a display of the permit, and it could have been issued a summons and fined for violating the ordinance, and stopped from going around without.
Right.
So maybe can we circulate this ordinance?
Sure.
And Debbie put it on for discussion for our next meeting?
Yep.
And somebody get in touch with Verizon because they shouldn't be ringing doorbells.
And you contacted the police?
I contacted the police Sunday night, and they did not have a permit for Sunday night. Monday night, I didn't bother calling.
Okay.
Because they already
Well, then they
were.
were in total violation if they didn't even have a permit. I'm sorry, Brandon.
Yeah.
Did they not this?
So did the police do anything that you know
I
of?
don't know if they did anything. Guy was checking into it.
Okay. Well, Guy's been on just so you know, he's
Yeah.
been on vacation the last couple of weeks, but I'll look into that tomorrow
Yeah.
and find out what happened.
Do you have their names?
They had no business cards to give us their names. And she goes, and the second night I saw her, she goes, I got a tablet. So it's like she went from a clipboard to a tablet.
She got promoted.
I bet there was some. I bet there was some marketing company as opposed to Verizon.
Yeah, because the first night it was a
Verizon
girl
would-
by herself, and
Verizon would have
her
photo
car was in
IDs
the
and all
Millington
kinds of
School
stuff.
lot behind the trees. So I told my friend, don't open your door, don't do anything, be careful, because she could have had if she was knocking on all the doors and no one was answering, she could have went to a van behind the Millington School and said, guys, these houses are empty, this one looked really cool looking in the window, let's steal from there. You know, but you don't know what these people are doing, because I have a clipboard and pointing to a T-shirt. I have a bunch of AT&T T-shirts, Lucent Technologies T-shirts, Bell Labs T-shirts. I could do the same thing. So a clipboard does me no good. A T-shirt does me no good. Give me documentation. Don't smile and say, I have a clipboard. I don't have my business card. I don't have the permit. Yeah, we got one, but I don't have it. So,
They clearly are supposed to have one, and.
Yeah.
They clearly weren't from Verizon. Verizon
Right.
would not operate that way.
she pointed to her T-shirt. She said she was.
As you say.
Yeah. She smiled. Cute.
And it was probably a marketing company trying to work for Verizon, but I
Yeah,
can't
but-
imagine Verizon wouldn't have photo IDs.
But 8 p.m. on a Sunday night is no good. 7 p.m. on a Monday night, I still didn't like my front door. And she didn't even remember me, which was like funny. I said, I saw you last night. She's like, what? I said, yeah, over here.
It's because These young kids only remember the stuff that they're doing
Yeah.
this to. They don't.
So if we could change the permit, the ordinance to say maybe 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. Weekends, parents should be with their kids should be with their parents.
Well, I think there are cases that say we can't prohibit all soliciting on weekends, but we can look at the hours.
Yeah, I would look at the, 9 p.m. is too late,
Right.
if that's what the ordinance stands for. Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roseanne.
Gary Janakis, Sterling, again. Yeah, I've stopped people who have come to my door soliciting or asked them if they had a permit or permission to do that. And it's good that we require one. As you guys might know, I'm running for a seat on town council. And I have to go door to door knocking to try to let people know that I'm running for town
You're
council.
exempt,
I'm
and
exempt.
because of Supreme Court cases.
I don't need
It's
a
only
permit.
commercial solicitors, as
Last thing I want to do is get in trouble if I'm doing that, right? Just wanted to make sure while I'm here, while we're talking about it, that's all. If there's any
You're
doors I don't have
safe.
to knock on right now,
Yeah.
then that's great. Thank you.
Bob Klafsich, Sterling, New Jersey. I'm a little fuzzy on the American Water presentation that was given a couple of weeks ago. I appreciated it, obviously, because they were able to spell out their side of what they want to provide us with. The thing that I was kind of fuzzy on was the graph that they were showing. Okay, we had American Water showing a 3-year moratorium on raising sewer rates, and then a slow, gradual increase over 20 years that would still be, according to them, less than what the town would be charging if the town retained control. The question that I have, or the part that I'm fuzzy with, is why does the chart show, I think it was a 300% increase or something absurd in terms of fees if the town kept it from day one? Basically, if we're looking at 2018 being 0.0, we see a moratorium on the raising of the rates from American Water, whereas if it was the town that was in control, it was showing a huge increase. Why wouldn't that increase be associated with whatever part of the reconstruction that's involved? Whether it's American Water or whether it's the town, this is going to be a multi-year process in getting the sewer up to date. So why didn't that chart or the graph that we were shown demonstrate an increase relative to the reconstruction part that we're in?
I think I know where you going with the question, but what I'll explain what the graph is and why those numbers are where they are. The current operating budget of the sewer plant is about $1.45 million a year. That takes into account employees' salaries, electricity, sludge removal, and all the other, truck depreciation, all the other costs that we can tie to that. In the wastewater valuation and capital improvement plan that we had done, that we got in January, February timeframe, that demonstrated that we need to spend an additional, on average, $1.4 million a year.
Correct.
For the next 20 years.
Correct.
So if you add 1.4 million onto the 1.45 we're currently spending, you're looking at an approximate 100% increase.
Right.
98, 97%.
Right.
Let's call it 100. This committee and probably the committee before it had started adopting a mentality where the sewer plant was a net zero on the municipal budget. So the ratepayers paid for it. So it's a simple case of if we kept the plant and if we do all the things in that book that the engineers are saying we're going to have to do, and we adopt the sewer users must pay for it, that's what has to happen to the rate chart in order to...
From day one. I mean,
So it's not a group of large projects. It's literally, if you look at
Right.
the capital plan, it's, 1.2 million one year, 1.5 million the next year, 1.3.
Right.
It's a
that
little
much,
bouncy.
it's a
but-
long
but-
rehabilitation process.
But how do you build up, right? Your first year, you're incurring $1.4 million of a $26 million expense. We are chewing it off a little bit at a time. It's just, it's shocking to what we've been accustomed to. Now, we could bond, right?
Compare that to the New Jersey American line that he's talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I understood the American Water, no, American New
Right.
Jersey line.
They don't care about covering their costs today. They're
Right,
doing it as a
because they've
long-term
got big
investment.
pockets.
Right.
Assuming that the American Water Company is Plan A on the referendum, and Plan B is the town retaining control of the sewer, what exactly is Plan B? Where would the town start in terms of the rehabilitation?
That's a good question, entirely up to the 2018 Township Committee.
But, I mean, that's not really being proactive. I mean, if you're saying that we're going to wait till November 7th to see if we're going to have to think about it. I mean,
I think a little bit more definition can be given here, because what happens is when we start the budget process, the department heads give us their capital expenditure requests. So part of that is the sewer plant, okay? So the head of the wastewater gives us the projected capital that he needs for the projects, and then we have to balance that along with all the other capital we're spending, whether it be a road or recreation or whatever. So in essence, they have the engineering report now that we've all seen that talks about a $1.4 million, So now we're going to be challenged with taking those capital expenditures and adding them onto the other capital expenditures that we would normally consider, and then try to recoup that from the rate base. So that plan is, I think, identified, and the wastewater personnel would give us that in the capital that they're asking for when we go through the budget process.
are you saying that in essence, they have their priorities set in terms what needs to be done on day one, and then you'll address the funding if and when that comes? I mean, are they, in essence, dictating, we have to go and scrape the sewer clean the first 6 months of the year or whatever? Are they dictating what actually is being done first in the rehab of the sewer system?
Well, the engineering plan outlines what needs to be done.
Okay, right.
And the plant personnel are then evaluating what they can do, what they're capable of doing, what they have to contract out.
Right.
And then creating a plan for implementing that, okay? In addition to the regular projects that they would have.
Right, of normal wear and tear.
Right. So last year, I believe phosphorus was on the list, and that was a pretty big project for them. So we had to pay for that, but that was on the 5-year outlook for a couple of years. So we saw that coming. Now we've got this big engineering plan that they've got to dissect, which, quite frankly, I don't think has been dissected into a 5-year plan at this point. But they do have that plan, and that will be essentially the blueprint as we go forward.
And if American Water were to take over, do they adopt that plan, the town's plan, the town engineer's plan, or do they have their own engineers come in?
No, we gave them the latitude, with some exceptions, to run their business the way they run their business. We gave them objective-based goals. Lift the sewer ban. We honestly, we don't care how they lift the sewer ban, as long as they get the sewer ban lifted. For us, it means lining pipes and building a tank, right? How they decide to go and do it, that's their own If they want to skip the tank and just line pipes, they can do that.
They also have less flexibility
Right.
in meeting the DEP requirements than the municipality does. So right now, we get threatening letters that saying we're exceeding our flow rate, and we've been getting them for a while now. So when we have high water events, we're well exceeding the flow rate through that plant. Well, they have less wiggle room from the DEP's perspective because now they're not a public entity.
Right.
Right. So they have to fix that stuff.
Mr. Pigeon, the EPA basically has a gun held to our collective heads. at this
DEP,
point.
yes,
DEP.
correct.
What, in the event that on November 7th, the populace says, no, we want to keep the sewer, what is the bare minimum that would get them to holster their gun? Is there a financial number that we have to show that we would have to invest? Is it a physical, we're ready to go and do such and such? What exactly would get them off the back of the town?
Well, they haven't made any specific threats, but as you know, at this point in time, we've got the quote-unquote voluntary sewer ban. So as long as that's in effect, and they're requiring certain updates, but there's no specific
Okay.
threat hanging over us at
Oh,
this
yeah,
moment. But we,
literally, I was picturing, this and.
well, I think as a practical matter, that's true, but we don't have a specific threat from DEP to take
Gotcha.
certain actions.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the summer, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Dennis Sandow. First, I'd like to remind everybody that next Monday at 2:44 in the afternoon, I will take the sun away. And if you are extremely good and much more efficient than you have been, I will bring it back. Connecticut Yankee, someone help me.
I'm sorry? What?
Isn't that where we read about
A
this,
Yankee
I
in
will
King
take the
Arthur's
sun
Court.
away?
A Yankee in King Arthur's Court.
At any rate, here in New Jersey, we're only going to get 72%, which means 28% of the sun is still going to be visible. For gosh sakes, wear eye protection. Sunglasses will not do it. You're going to have to scrounge up some sort of really good eye protection before you go looking. I'm not a medical expert, but I do believe that people are going to have burned out eyeballs if they're not extremely careful.
Yeah, you are in fact quite correct on that. Please do not look directly at the sun without proper shielding.
I would like to observe that, as promised, a milling machine showed up in front of my house this morning and started tearing apart the street. It was promised for today, and it showed up today. That's the good news. The bad news is they did what I consider to be a very crappy job of milling and sweeping, and I hope to see Public Works Director at 6 o'clock tomorrow morning and get him out on my street and have them do some of that work over again before they start paving. We're going to have, in front of my house, the way they have milled, they're going to wind up putting on about a ½ an inch of pavement instead of the 2 inches. And this is the county contractor, and once again, we believe that they know what they're doing. This is the same answer that I got for the water company 2 months ago before I had to cancel the bike race, was they know what they're doing, they know what they're doing. But I'll tell you, the milling job and the sweeping job was really terrible on Windsor Way, and I'd like to get that straightened out. I'd like Tom to get that straightened out before they do the paving and then do the other streets that are on the agenda. If anyone has any objection to my going after him with pictures,
None whatsoever.
None. I was actually going to ask you.
No objection.
thank you very much. Third thing I'd like to point out is that the utility companies are very emphatic in their advertising that nobody will come to your door unless they have an employee ID. Roseanne seems to have discovered that one of our utilities doesn't believe in that element of precision, and Jack has pointed it out, that there should be an employee ID, and they are obviously low-budget contractors. But we should make a warning, and if you don't mind, I'll put it on Long Hill Television. Any utility person who shows up at your door has got to have an employee ID, and if you didn't call for them, they've also got to have a permit. Finally, I'd like to commend Mr. Klapsich for talking about rate making with you guys. Since last spring, I have tried on 3 occasions to talk rate making, and he got more time tonight than I got sum total because of your various 3-minute limits, or somebody else wants to talk. I just like to observe that I get the feeling that somebody who really knows rate making and knows how to ask the right questions is not welcome. At least I don't feel like I've been welcome when I've talked about rate making. I appreciate the fact that he asked some of the right questions. There are a lot more questions to ask, both of you and of the water company. And you did promise 4 or 5 meetings, and I don't see anything about that schedule. There's only 2 months to go till the election. I urge you to get a little more friendly towards the folks who really want to know the real true answers and who want to challenge some of the misstatements that have been made on both sides. Let's get on with it.
If you have a question about the rates.
Ye shall know the truth.
If you have a question about the rates, now's your,
Excuse me?
if you have a question about the rate chart, now's your time.
You want to do it right now without a 3-minute cutoff?
Well, there's only 30 seconds left.
No, I'm not going to do it now. Let's get a proper forum, and I'll come properly prepared,
Oh.
and you'll be properly prepared, and you'll have your CFO here.
Keep in mind that any forum is going to have time limits because there are going to be multiple people present potentially. So, I mean, if you're the only person in the room, obviously the floor is yours, but
If you want to drag this out till 10:30 or 11 o'clock, I can do that.
No, I think at the last meeting, whenever we had the first town hall meeting with New Jersey American, one of the outcomes of that was that, you know, we Dennis said he had specific questions on this topic, and we agreed that over the next one, New Jersey American, they were going to bring their rate expert, and Dennis would be able to ask the questions and have it out.
Well,
So that is still to come.
are your questions around, I gather your questions are about our projections rather than their
Oh,
projections.
yes, some of them are. Oh, yes. I want to know what happens when you pay off $11 million worth of outstanding debt and have the potential of reducing the tax levy by $2 million a year, and how you're going to tell the taxpayers that they're not going to get a $2 million reduction because you found something else to do with the money.
No, we've always had something else to do with the money. It's not a complete reduction.
You better think through your answer to that one. Because if you're just going to take the $2 million hole in the budget that paying off all the debt will create.
So it's not, so it wouldn't be a $2 million hole. Our current debt and capital is I'm going to say 2.1.
2 million.
2.14 or 2.18.
2.00 million.
Not completely debt.
2.00. I read the budget just a few days ago and talked to Len about it.
That's about right. That's about 2.1.
At any rate, if you pay off most of that with the proceeds, you're going to reduce the budgetary requirement, and you can either reduce the taxes or you can spend the money elsewhere. And, you know, that question keeps coming up, and there's never an answer for it. But that's the sort of dialogue I'd like to have with
No,
you.
but that's not a question that we can even bind this committee to. I mean, we all have
First of all,
our
that's not a
intentions,
rate
right?
question.
Right,
Okay? But what we're talking about is the budget in 2019 or even 2020, after that debt has been retired and additional debt from what's existing has been paid down, right? Because we're not going to be debt free. Should the sale proceed and the 11 million is then paying off our debt, we're still not debt free, right? So
Well, you have 3 million left.
Correct.
Right, so then, in the budget discussion in 2019, do we continue the $2.1 million worth of debt service, or do we lower that number, based on what's existing? I don't know that answer because I don't know what the budget's gonna look like in 2019.
And we might not be here,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's
17, 18,
it's
right?
2
I'll
point,
be here.
it's 2.2 million with debt and capital, right? So there's some ratio that's clearly much higher now on the debt side than it is on the let's pay cash. But we have desperately been trying to get to a let's pay cash model. And our capital budget that we've been borrowing has been anywhere from 600,000 to 1.1 million for the past couple of years. So instead of paying that portion, right, instead of having to borrow that every year, we now can keep that. So now you're at 1.1 plus whatever. Yes, there is definitely a gap between probably about 1.4 million and 2.2 million dollars as to what does a future township committee do with that. I'll call it surplus, but it's not really surplus. Right? There is definitely a discussion to have, but that's not really a discussion that, I mean, I don't know if I'm getting elected.
You're going to kick that can down the road.
No,
You're done kicking the sewer plant can down the road.
But we can't. We can't commit a future committee, number one, to that type of a
So
statement.
it is entirely possible, that even if the sale goes through, there will not be a reduction in taxes, even though the debt has to be canceled.
There is.
That is possible.
That is possible, yes.
But if
That-
that
that
happens,
is-
just so you know, if that happens though, if the tax levy continues at the same rate, right, we will get to a debt-free status much faster, right? And we will have, the future committees of 2019, 2020, or somewhere, 21, will then have over $2 million in capital to spend without borrowing, right? Now, at that point, the question is, well, is it returned to the taxpayer, or do we put it into roads and, all the other stuff that's, sort of on the priority list that we keep kicking down the road,
Yeah, I mean,
right? And that's really the question at that point, but we don't have the money to spend in 2017, we don't have it to spend in 2018, we probably don't have it in 2019 either.
I mean, we've had requests from both fire departments for new trucks that have been having to be deferred. I mean, there's a ton of requests for stuff and some big ticket, and I'm not suggesting that they're done or that they are going to be done, but there is a laundry list of really
I know,
old
it's
stuff
called the
in town.
five-year capital plan.
Correct,
And it's
yeah.
all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy.
So for, at some point, yeah, I think you're right, is $2 million, my own personal opinion is $2 million a year cash to spend a little bit much, maybe. If you don't have interest, it might be. So, but I think it would be a few years.
The other thing to consider is, if it's returned to the taxpayer, the rate's lowered for that particular year, right? So then the budget cycle the following year, if they're short, they could turn around and bond, or issue notes at that point for any type of capital purchase. So, what happens in 2019, 2020 from a budgeting standpoint, we really can't say.
Right.
All I know is this committee and the finance committee here has been working towards getting debt-free. And if the sale proceeds and is confirmed by the taxpayers, we'll get there a whole lot faster.
By simply transferring the tax burden into a new sewer bill coming from American Water.
That will be less expensive than if we keep it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Well, the other option, by the way, a future committee could decide to go and borrow $11 million. That is another option. Not suggesting that this
Doesn't,
committee would ever do it,
doesn't-
and a bond requires 4 affirmative votes rather than a simple majority, but it is highly possible that a future township committee could, after 2019, whenever the bonds have been officially paid off.
I mean, that would drop right to fund balance. I don't think we can keep that on. I mean, no, I know the school can't, so I'm not sure if
What?
the municipality could keep an $11 million fund balance.
No, but I want a stadium across the street with a dome. I mean, you don't know what if, I'm exaggerating, by the way, but, a future committee could do that. They have the option to decide that something is important enough, that they're getting enough taxpayer drive, that this is what we need.
Like
And
a
they could-
dog
they
park
could-
or
they-
a swimming pool.
They could, they could certainly, it is within the committee's power to reborrow the $11 million that was just paid off. It's not something I would do. Like Bruce said, we have been trying desperately to get to a pay-as-you-go mentality.
And a protest can be filed against the bond ordinance, force a referendum, binding
Right.
referendum.
Right.
All right, I'm going to save the rest of this till I'm better prepared, until the American Water guys are here to talk about how their rate making goes. I have one last item, and this follows up on Mr. Carr's presentation, sort of tangentially. I carry the big scissors in my car for the ribbon cuttings that the Chamber of Commerce goes along with. And typically, since we bought the scissors, you bought the scissors. We've been doing 2 or 3 a year. The last one I did was 11 months ago in September. We're not getting the ribbon cuttings, and you know what that means. We're not getting the businesses. Think
No,
about
that-
that when you
that-
think about processing Mr.
Well-
Carr's comments.
So, question for you, could that also mean that the existing businesses are being successful?
No, we got enough vacancies in town that aren't being filled. I mean, look at the number of vacancies new on Main Avenue in the past year, for example. We got more than enough opportunity for people to move in. They just ain't coming.
Thank you, Dennis. Any other? Seeing none? Get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you, everyone.